Good morning. I'm here today to announce the launch of a new initiative to help Lincoln move forward. Together One Lincoln is a partnership of community members and organizations who are committed to strengthening the Lincoln community by creating dialogue and driving action that combats racial inequity. Lincoln has for decades welcomed immigrants and refugees into our community from around the world, and in the devastating wake of Hurricane Katrina, we opened our doors to fellow citizens seeking refuge and a new start. Each time we welcome a newcomer into Lincoln, we demonstrate that our hearts are capable of holding one more family, one more dreamer. After the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, people gathered to bear witness to this specific act of violent racism and to protest racial injustice everywhere. On the morning following the first night of unrest here in Lincoln, I asked that we use this moment to start a conversation about racial equity and what it might mean to live in a community where everyone feels respected and everyone feels safe. I've heard from scores of people asking, how can I help? What can I do? And while policy changes will need to be enacted, that is not the only work to be done to build a city where everyone feels a personal stake and a sense of belonging. Together One Lincoln is based on the concepts that conversations can be enlightening and powerful. And Together One Lincoln focuses on how each person can help create a community of racial equity by starting a conversation. So let me explain what we've done. Starting a conversation about race, racism, racial equity is a brave and likely uncomfortable act. So we've seeded the website, togetheronelincoln.org, with tips for having difficult conversations, a suggested format and a list of questions to get you started, a reading list curated by Lincoln City Libraries, and links to other resources and websites we found helpful in providing a national and historical context for discussions about race in America. We've also given you links to organizations here in Lincoln who are prepared to host community conversations. Now, the conversations don't have to be large. Actually, they work better if they're just small conversations. So think about starting at the end of your driveway with your neighbors or around your dining room table. But when you're ready to engage with other folks in other neighborhoods, please come to our website, togetheronelincoln.org, and reach out to some of the other community organizations ready to host a conversation. And before we go any further, first I'd like to thank Margie Propp, our sign language interpreter, and I'd also like to introduce our public service announcement. So let's roll the video and we'll get a chance to see what we're talking about.
I want to have a conversation about racism in our community.
It's not comfortable, but we have to start somewhere together.
I want to have a conversation about education.
I want to have a conversation about race.
I want to have a conversation about housing.
I want to have a conversation about race.
I want to have a conversation about law enforcement.
It's uncomfortable.
But we have to start somewhere. Together, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
It's exciting. I'm excited. It was a thought I had that just flew, and it couldn't have happened if I didn't have a really wonderful group of people helping me to bring this to fruition. I'd like to first let some other folks speak and give you their perspective. So let's welcome John Goodwin, director of the Malone Center.
Thank you. I am truly excited to be a part of this program and actually very excited, actually. I am willing and ready to have a conversation, to converse with others, to replace ignorance with knowledge. I feel that it's very important for our community. It's very important for our people, our children, to have these tough conversations, to be able to understand each other, to have gained knowledge and understanding of what our perspectives and our experiences of where we come from. I think is very important. So I think these conversations that we have with our children, with our neighbors, with our loved ones in the community will be a great way to learn ways that we can combat a lot of these things that are happening that we don't agree with. The racism, housing. How can we get better? How can we understand each other if we don't have a conversation? So conversations are huge, and I am excited to be a part of that. And I'm willing to do my part, and hopefully that the community will be more willing to have these conversations, sit around a table, drink some coffee. We talk about football, let's talk about some other things as well. And so I really appreciate this time, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Next, we have Nicolette Siegfried from South Street Temple. Nicolette.
Thank you. I'm also so excited to be here. In the wake of current events, including the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and James Scurlock, and countless others, we all must commit to taking action. Staying silent isn't an option. Acts of violence against all marginalized communities are on the rise, and a hateful rhetoric is dividing our nation and our community. I know that the anti-Semitism, which led someone to deface my synagogue, the South Street Temple, is a part of a growing trend of hate. The Together One Lincoln initiative will strengthen our community through conversations about race and racism, which are critical to creating a more inclusive and safe Lincoln. The initiative, paired with policy changes, like the recently enacted hate crime ordinance, will help bring justice and equity to our community. The South Street Temple congregation is ready to have conversations about race and racism and to host conversations for our community so that we can all talk about this difficult but important topic.
Thank you. And because this has such broad impact on our community, I thought that it was really important to know, for you to know, that one of my earliest supporters in this project is Wendy Birdsell, the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce.
Well, thank you, Sandra. And I can't tell you what this means to me. And when Sandra called and asked if we would participate in having these conversations as a Chamber of Commerce, I wholeheartedly jumped in with both feet and said, how can we help? Just as many others have done. The Lincoln Chamber is a community builder, and this is just one other way in which we can contribute to our community and make it even stronger and make it Together One Lincoln. And we want to challenge everyone to participate in these conversations. We ask you to take a look at the website. There are so many valuable resources there. We also have a pledge that we've put out as the Lincoln Chamber to our business leaders, but also to citizens of Lincoln to sign and join the pledge to be an anti-racist Lincoln. Again, having these conversations, these dialogues, they are instrumental in making our community stronger, broader, more accepting, and we'll find out things that we might not know. And that's how we move things forward, by asking those questions, having those dialogues, and making some meaningful changes. So thank you again for asking me to participate. We're here to support you.
When I started working on this project, I knew that Together One Lincoln really was a spin-off or closely associated with what the mayor has been trying to do here in Lincoln. And when she introduced at her State of the City address last fall one of her initiatives, One Lincoln, I knew that this would be a really good fit. So if the mayor would come forward.
Thank you, Councilwoman Washington, for your incredible leadership. And of course, thank you to Nicolette and Wendy, to John, and to all who've collaborated, all the organizations who've lent their wisdom, expertise, and support to this incredible effort. We deeply appreciate the contributions made by all to give this life. And you make me so proud to live in Lincoln, to serve Lincoln. As the name suggests, Together One Lincoln does align beautifully with the spirit of our administration's One Lincoln initiative, which strives to make Lincoln a more equitable and inclusive city, a city in which every resident has equal opportunity to reach their full human potential. And for each of us to reach our full human potential, and for our community to meaningfully address racial inequities, we must commit to having open, honest, and sometimes difficult or even uncomfortable conversations with friends, family, and our neighbors. We must also engage in self-reflection and learn about experiences different from our own. This is the path towards greater understanding, an understanding that is fundamental to realizing our vision for Lincoln, in which people of every race enjoy a sense of opportunity, security, respect, and true belonging. At togetheronelincoln.com, we can find valuable resources to help us on this journey toward greater understanding. These include a list of recommended books available by our Lincoln City Libraries, guides for talking about race that are designed for educators and parents, and tips for having meaningful conversations with others on difficult topics. At togetheronelincoln.com, you will also discover local organizations, including the Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and the South Street Temple, that have committed to hosting community conversations about racial equity. We are fortunate to live in a city where so many are reaching across divides to build a more just and equitable world, one that recognizes the full humanity and dignity of every individual. Every organization and every resident has an important part to play. The work of creating a more inclusive community falls to each of us, and we invite you to join us in this work, together as one Lincoln. Thank you.
I'd like to ask everyone who's worked on the project, who's here today. Not everyone could be with us this morning, but I would like to invite everyone to come forward, because I really want you to see how many people have committed themselves to this project, and that this was not something that was done by one or two people. So we have here today, and I really want to give a lot of credit to our videographer, Michael Reinmiller, Brent Comstock and his staff, Julia Ostman and Rebecca Fisher at BCom Solutions, graphic designer Melanie Reinmiller, who couldn't be with us this morning, and content advisors Nicolette Siegfried, Mindy Rush Chipman, the Director of Human Rights Commission, Adele Burke from the Mayor's Office, and Councilman Benny Shobe. We could not have done this also without support from Barb Bartle and her staff at the Community Foundation, and Tracy Edgerton is with us this morning. And of course, the talent on the screen, those community leaders who stepped up willingly to say, I'll lend you my image and my voice, my passion and my heart. John Goodwin, director of the Malone Center, Pete Ferguson with Lincoln Public Schools, Dr. Marilyn Moore, Shoshana Bokstra, a Lincoln High student, Darren Good, the president of Nebraska Wesleyan University, and Mike Smith of the Bay. Thank them all. This was a wonderful project to be able to work with such a dedicated team to lift this project from concept to reality. I hope all of you will join us together, one Lincoln. Thank you. And I'll take questions if there are any questions. Okay. I can hear.
A huge thanks to the folks who were on camera. It was always about 105 million degrees out.
It was really hot early summer when we were shooting these pieces. I see someone on the screen, but I don't know if they're here to ask a question. All right. Well, then, thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Together.